Hello, this is Natalie Evans from ICLE, Local Governments for Sustainability. I'm presenting the Clean Fleets training package. This is going to be part 2 of module 2, which is looking at the Clean Vehicles Directive. Simon has just covered an overview of the Clean Vehicle Directive, and I'm now going to look in more detail at some of the more complex aspects. So first of all, we're going to look at how each different parameter needs to be considered. Now, when we're talking about carbon dioxide emissions and fuel consumption, these are obviously inherently linked. However, as part of the Clean Vehicles Directive, they must be considered separately. The second aspect that we're going to look at is the Euro emission standards. Now, Euro emissions apply to manufacturers, to both heavy-duty vehicles and light-duty vehicles. They become increasingly more stringent, and over time, for example, heavy-duty vehicles now have to comply to Euro 6 standards. Now, it's not enough to specify a Euro standard and comply with the directive, because Euro standards only cover pollutants which are associated with air quality. The next aspect that we're going to look at is if the authority specifically requires zero emissions technologies, such as full electric vehicles or hydrogen, then it's assumed that emissions of carbon dioxide and other harmful emissions will not need to be assessed again while tendering, if that technology is specified. However, energy consumption is still going to need to be addressed separately, because you can have energy efficient electric vehicles, for example, and less energy efficient vehicles. Another point to consider is when you're buying an entire fleet of vehicles, do you have to make sure that every single vehicle you're purchasing complies with the directive? The answer is no. Actually, you can impose an average threshold to ensure that, on average, each vehicle is considering both energy efficiency and other environmental parameters overall. You don't have to consider each and every vehicle. Another commonly cited issue with the Clean Vehicle Directive is that there's actually no minimum value stipulated. By that I mean that factors have to be taken into account, including energy efficiency and environmental performance, but it doesn't actually say how they have to be taken into account in terms of the limit. So this actually means that reluctant authorities or public transport operators can still remain unambitious, and procurers are sometimes unclear on what's acceptable and what's not. So the fact that minimum values are not set reflects the heterogeneous resource availability and market development across different EU member states. So energy efficiency, carbon dioxide and local air pollutants must be taken into account, but it's not stipulated to what extent. This issue is not necessarily resolved through legislation on Euro standards and CO2 limits, because many public authorities buy vehicles second-hand. Sweden have defined at the national level what they consider to be an environmentally friendly vehicle, and they've adjusted this for biofuels, as this is a developed and promising market. Some authorities, such as Växjö in Sweden, actually set their own standards for environmentally vehicles, even lower than the national one. But in summary, the Clean Vehicle Directive does not set these limits.